Welcome to the It Factor. We're Jemmy and I, exploring a new blog post by Mr. Len Kaplan, CEO of CDML, a managed service provider in Queens, New York.
That's right. They offer a whole suite of services: network management, voice over IP, and UKS, which is Unified Communications as a Service.
And also cybersecurity, compliance, infrastructure as a service, cloud solutions, and Microsoft 365 and Azure solutions.
A really comprehensive list.
Absolutely. So if you're a small business owner or you manage IT for a growing organization, this deep dive is definitely for you.
The article is called "Incident Response is Not an IT Problem, It's an Organizational One."
And that title just immediately grabs you because it challenges a really core assumption we all make. When something goes wrong, a breach, a system outage, we instantly look at the technology. You think about firewalls or backups.
But the author suggests that in a real incident, the technology is, well, it's rarely the deciding factor.
So what is it?
Well, what really determines the outcome isn't the tool, but the human element. How quickly do people recognize the issue? Who actually has the authority to act?
And is there a clear, documented process for making those decisions?
Exactly. A process that involves the whole organization, not just the IT department. And this is, a crucial distinction for small businesses where roles often overlap and one person wears many hats.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. The article points out that many organizations, their plan is just to, figure it out as they go.
Which sounds reasonable until you're in the middle of a crisis.
Right. Because under pressure, that approach leads to some really common failure points. And what's fascinating here is that these failures are entirely non-technical.
Completely non-technical. Think about it. The technology will alert you that something is wrong. It does its job, but it can't assign responsibility or make a judgment call.
So it's less about the alert and more about what happens after the alert.
Precisely. The article highlights things like uncertainty about who owns decisions that fall outside of IT, or staff just hesitating to escalate an issue.
And a fear of crying wolf.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to be the one who bothered the CEO for something that turned out to be nothing, so they wait.
And then leadership only gets involved when it's already, as the article puts it, a 5-alarm fire.
And by then, it's often too late. The key takeaway for anyone listening is that if your people are unsure about who to notify, the process is already broken. Improvisation in a crisis just leads to costly mistakes.
And this brings us to where it gets really interesting, which is the modern threat landscape.
Right.
Because modern incidents aren't always about some obvious malware or a total system outage. They are much more subtle. They're about social engineering, impersonation.
Manipulating normal business workflows.
Exactly. They are so dangerous precisely because they look completely routine.
And that's how they exploit us. They exploit our human nature, our desire to be helpful and efficient. We see an urgent request, and our instinct is to act on it.
So give us a few examples from the article. What do these routine-looking incidents look like?
Well, the classic one is a believable invoice. Or maybe a message that seems to come from a leader in your company asking for a quick favor. An urgent but reasonable request.
And the article even mentions AI-generated voice or video calls.
Get this, yeah. Imagine a voice call from someone who sounds exactly like your CFO asking you to quickly approve a payment.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because your employees are acting in good faith. They're trying to do their jobs.
They are. So the solution isn't just telling them, be more suspicious. That's not helpful. It's about giving them clear guidance, clear verification steps, and defined paths for escalation.
People need to know when it's okay to pause and verify instead of feeling pressure to just handle it alone. So what does all this mean for a small business owner? What's the big takeaway here?
The takeaway is that incident response has to involve the entire organization. It's got to move beyond the server room.
So a well-designed plan needs clear answers to some of those cross-functional questions. Like what?
Like who has the authority to approve or halt payments? Not just in theory, but in practice. Who verifies requests that appear to come from executives? What's the protocol?
When do you have to get legal involved? Or finance? Or leadership?
Exactly. These can't be questions you're trying to answer for the first time when $100,000 is about to leave your bank account.
So the article really stresses that technology supports the response. It doesn't replace it.
It cannot replace it. No security tool can interpret the intent of a really well-crafted email. It can't decide if a request makes business sense, and it definitely can't replace human judgment in these ambiguous situations.
Which means the planning has to give equal attention to all three pillars.
People, Process, A&D technology, if you only focus on one, you're leaving yourself wide open.
So let's talk practical steps. How does a company like CDML, the source of the article, actually help organizations reduce this kind of risk?
Well, they focus on that gap. They help companies review real-world threat scenarios like payment diversion, and then they design these documented response plans that define everyone's roles.
So it's not just an IT document.
Not at all. It defines roles for leadership, accounting, HR, operations, everyone. And then they implement the right email security controls to support that process.
But having a plan on paper is one thing. Making sure people follow it under pressure is another.
Which is why they emphasize training, not just on social engineering tactics, but using tools like periodic tabletop exercises.
So like a fire drill for a cyber attack.
Pretty much, you walk the key players through a simulated crisis, and that's where you find the gaps in the plan. You find out the person who's supposed to call legal is on vacation, or the emergency communication tool doesn't work. It makes the plan real.
And there's another benefit too, right? Something about cyber insurance.
Oh, absolutely. They help organizations align their controls and their documentation so they can qualify for cyber insurance at more affordable rates. Insurers want to see that you've rehearsed your process. It shows you're a lower risk.
That makes a lot of sense. So we're left with a final, pretty provocative thought here.
Yeah. The idea is that incident response is ultimately about making sure your organization responds deliberately instead of instinctively.
Because instinct under pressure is basically just panic.
It can be, yeah. Panic leads to mistakes. A deliberate, practiced response provides clarity and control. So if you're listening and you're unsure how your organization would respond under that kind of pressure,
That uncertainty is the risk.
that uncertainty itself is a risk worth addressing right now.
We hope you found this deep dive into incident response is not an IT problem, it's an organizational one, valuable.
And we hope it sparks some of those important internal conversations for you.
If you like what you heard, please click that thumbs up button. And remember, new blog posts from CDML come out every Tuesday and Thursday.
You can visit https.cdml.com and subscribe to their blog for more great content.
It's definitely worth a read.
Till next time.